Good morning, members. Welcome to the, let's see here, what have we got? The 12th day of session 2025 of the 68th Wyoming Legislature, January the 29th. Members, please get ready. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Convening roll call for the 12th day, January 29th, 2025. Alamand? Present. Andrew? Here. Angelos? Here. Banks? Here. Bear? Here. Brady? Here. Bratton? Bratton?
Excused.
Brown Gary? Here. Brown Landon? Here. Byron? Here. Campbell Elisa? Here. Campbell Kevin?
Excused.
Chestick? Here. Clouston? Here. Connolly? Here. Davis? Here. Eklund? Here. Erickson? Here. Filer? Here. Geringer? Here. Guggenmoss? Here. Haroldson? Here. Harshman? Here. Heiner? Here. Heft?
Excused.
Heft? Jarvis? Here. Johnson? Here. Kelly? Here. Knapp? Knapp?
Excused.
Larson Lloyd? Larson
Excused.
Lloyd? Larson JT? Here. Lawley? Lawley?
Excused.
Lean? Here. Locke? Present. Lucas? Here. McCann?
Excused.
Nicholas? Ottman?
Excused.
Pendergraft?
Here.
Posey?
Here.
Provenza? Here. Riggins?
Excused.
Rodriguez Williams?
Excused.
Schmid?
Excused.
Sherwood? Here. Singh? Here. Smith? Here. Storer? Here. Strock? Here. Stivar? Present. Tarver? Excused. Thayer? Here. Washut? Here. Wasserberger? Here. Webb? Here. Weber? Here. Wharf? Here. Williams? Here. Winter? Here. Wiley? Here. Yin? Here. Mr. Speaker.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will hold it open. We obviously have some committees that are still out and working, and they'll hopefully be on their way immediately. In fact, I do think there's some coming, maybe. Nope, that's budget being delivered. So next on our agenda, our prayer is going to be led this morning by our chaplain, Pastor David Bott, Redeemer Lutheran Church in Jackson and Christ Our Savior Lutheran Church in Star Valley. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Almighty God, dearest Father in heaven, we humbly pray that you would bless and protect these your servants. Impart to them by your Holy Spirit humility and diligence in their service to the citizens of Wyoming, as well as those who visit us. Lord God, you are chiefly known in showing mercy. In your divine mercy, grant unto these lawmakers wisdom, discernment, and prudence to follow your will, to craft and pass legislation to benefit mankind, allow honest industry to thrive, to protect those who are defenseless, especially the unborn and the aged. Bless all and protect all from conception to natural death. Thwart all the evil plans and schemes of the evil one. Grant courage to these legislators to stand firmly against ideals that do harm to our little ones. Protect all who serve as they travel to and from their homes, legislators as well as the staff who serve here. Grant like blessings to your servant Mark, our governor. These and all things beneficial to us, we ask in the one and only name that is above every name, Jesus Christ the crucified. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Bob. Fellows members and guests, please join me in the salute to our flag. Representatives, greet each other. We'll wait for the rest of our committees to show up, and we'll do the call roll. Members, if we could go ahead and find our seats. Glad to see you guys enjoying each other's company. It's awesome to see you getting along and working together and enjoying being here with each other. Our chief clerk needs to finish the roll. Please do.
Bratton. Heft. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Lawley. Lawley.
Still excused.
McCann. Ottman.
Excused.
Rodriguez Williams. Schmid.
Excused.
Tarver. 58 present, 4 excused.
Thank you, Chief Clerk. Next, we have our Journal Committee report.
Your Journal Committee reports that the Journal of January 28th, 2025 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Representatives Jarvis and Posey.
No messages from the Senate. So, Representative Allemand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Rule 5.6, I would like to recall Bill 109 from Committee Number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources, to Committee Number 5, Agriculture.
Okay. There's a second. We need 5 seconds, I believe. Stay standing so we can write your names down. Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Oh, Representative Yin.
Mr. Chairman, so, maybe we should give the mover a first. It is a debatable motion. We're outside of committee of the whole, so it takes 2 times. What I would like to know from the bringer, and please give him a first, I think that's appropriate, is why he's asking for this to be brought out, why he prefers the committee he's moving it to, and has it been an appropriate amount of time? So the rule says it needs to be an appropriate amount of time. Has it been an appropriate amount of time?
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Yin. Representative Allemand, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is a trespass bill that has nothing to do with tourism or travel. It has to do with ranches. And there's no changes in the trespass law. The only change is the consequences that happen to you if you trespass. And this is mainly during hunting season on ranchers, which I see as an agriculture problem, not a tourism problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Allemand. Any other discussion? No discussion? All right. You are acting on the motion to move House Bill, did I write it down? 109, from travel, TRW, to agriculture. This will be a roll call vote. Chief Clerk is preparing for that, so hang on, people.
Allemand.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, quiet. We are almost there.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown, Gary. Brown, Landon. Byron. Campbell, Elisa. Campbell, Kevin. Chestick. Clauston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Wharf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 54 aye, 7 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen to move House Bill 109 from TRW to Agriculture. We are at that order of business of bills on introduction and reading and reference of bills. The first bill for our consideration is House Bill 280.
House Bill 280, sponsored by Representative Knapp.
First reading of the bill.
Sex offender registration.
House Bill 280 will be assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 293.
House Bill 293, sponsored by Representative Bear.
First reading of the bill.
Repealing the School Foundation Program Reserve Account.
House Bill 293 will be assigned to our Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 294.
House Bill 294, sponsored by Representative Bear.
First reading of the bill.
Federal mining royalties distribution amendments.
House Bill 294 will be assigned to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 305.
What's the one behind that one? What was the number? 305?
305.
House Bill 305, sponsored by Representative Lean.
First reading of the bill.
County optional tax on solar energy production.
House Bill 305 will be assigned to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 316.
House Bill 316, sponsored by Management Council.
First reading of the bill.
School finance model recalibration 2.
House Bill 316 will also be assigned to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 324.
House Bill 324, sponsored by Representative Andrew.
First reading of the bill.
State elected officials, employees at will, and regulations.
House Bill 324 will be assigned to Committee Number 4, Education. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 90.
House Bill 90, sponsored by Representative Davis.
First reading of the bill.
Anthrax outbreak protocol.
House Bill 90 will be assigned to our Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 205.
House Bill 205, sponsored by Representative Strock.
First reading of the bill.
Wyoming State Fair Department.
House Bill 205 will be assigned to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 224.
House Bill 224, sponsored by Representative Banks.
First reading of the bill.
Prohibiting foreign adversary property ownership.
House Bill 224 will be assigned to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 304.
House Bill 304, sponsored by Representative Eklund.
First reading of the bill.
State lands, hunting and fishing on cultivated cropland.
House Bill 304 will also be assigned to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 136.
House Bill 136, sponsored by Representative Byron.
First reading of the bill.
Volunteer First Responder Health Insurance Revisions.
House Bill 136 will be assigned to our committee number 6, Travel. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 278.
House Bill 278, sponsored by Representative Locke.
First reading of the bill.
Elections, voting machine, and voting system tests.
House Bill 278 will be assigned to our committee number 7, Corporations. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 300.
House Bill 300, sponsored by Representative Wiley.
First reading of the bill.
Electrical generation tax.
House Bill 300 will be assigned to committee number 9, Minerals. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 250.
House Bill 250, sponsored by Representative Nyman.
First reading of the bill.
Defining life and rights of natural persons.
House Bill 250 will assign committee number 10, Labor. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 323.
House Bill 323, sponsored by Representative Wasserberger.
First reading of the bill.
SNAP benefits waiver request.
House Bill 323 will be assigned to our committee number 10, Labor. And that is it for introductions. Reports from our standing committees. None of those. Man, we're flying this morning.
Mr. Speaker, privilege of the floor.
Representative Yin, by all means.
Mr. Speaker, just briefly, members, I wanted to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year. Today is the new year and the lunar calendar, and it is the year of the snake. So happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Webb,
Mr. Chairman, privilege of the floor, please.
please.
In the North Gallery, we have Eric Quinney from Uintah County. He is the warden of the CEO of the Uintah County Fire and Ambulance. And I would like to acknowledge him along with his people that work under him and all of our first responders throughout the state.
Welcome to the House, and thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you being here. Yes, Representative Chairman Bear,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, today on your desk, you received the actual budget bill, and you received what we call the status report. Oh, I'm sorry, not supposed to use, well, this is the budget bill, so I can actually use some props, but this larger sheet is your status sheet, and I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to begin studying what the work of the Appropriations Committee and the executive and his recommendation. It's culminated in this particular bill. Your House Appropriations Committee will be presenting this on Friday and Monday. So in your opportunity to prepare for that, I encourage you to look at this. If you're confused by what you're looking at and need some guidance, I would ask that you see individually either a current appropriator or a past appropriator to get an understanding. One has thankfully stood up and is volunteering to share her knowledge on this issue. But we do want you to know what you're getting into as we go into the presentation of that bill on Friday and Monday. So again, if you have questions about how to read these documents, please come and see one of us appropriators, whether from this committee or the previous committee, and we would be glad to help you so you can prepare for this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman Bear. Any others? All right. Seeing none, we will move on. Next item for our consideration will be bills on second reading. That portion. We are on the order of business with bills on second reading. First bill for our consideration is House Bill 23.
House Bill 23, sponsored by Transportation, surrender driver's license repeal.
House Bill 23, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 27.
House Bill 27, sponsored by Transportation, disabled parking, windshield placards revisions.
House Bill 27, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 36.
House Bill 36, sponsored by Representative Harshman, Hathaway Scholarship amendments.
We do have amendments. House Bill 36. Second reading amendment 1, Representative Harshman,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Speaker. I'd move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 36. And members, just to revisit, it was about 14 hours ago we were talking about this. So there were some things said, and I just want us to, so I did some work on this last night and this morning, and I just want to, I think the amendment is going to harm the bill. It's unconstitutional, and we just can't do it. And so I got an amendment to undo it. If you want these trades programs to be a part of the Hathaway certification piece, then we have to undo what we did last night. So with that, I'd answer any questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you,
Speaker.
Chairman, or Representative. Any discussion? Representative Andrew, for your first time.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, thank you. On and against this amendment, I think we had this debate, so I won't continue that, but on and against, thank you.
Representative Andrew. Representative Larson, Lloyd, first time.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too had concerns and voiced those concerns last night that it interfered with the Constitution as we have attempted to modify and allow this broader use of the Hathaway over the time that I've been here. We continued to run into that roadblock. However, we heard some conversation yesterday that there had been an exchange between that department that oversees the Hathaway, that perhaps there could be a way around that. Not sure just quite how, fair enough. And maybe we learn something every day, and maybe there's something available there that we just had missed before. So I reached out to that. Agency and presented the language of the amendment and asked if we indeed could allow those Hathaway funds to be used in that manner, and was promptly told that no, we could not. And so I think maybe there's some misunderstanding. I don't know, but it was pretty clear to me from those that responded there that this isn't possible. It might be something that we can continue to work on and resolve. So I would encourage an aye vote on the amendment that is being proposed, because it is a good bill that actually does broaden the ability to use these funds in a way that we've never used them before for these kids that are really reaching out and trying to get their education through technical means. So on and in support of the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Larson. Any others for their first time? Representative Nicholas, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and in favor of the amendment, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the first time that this body has seen this amendment for the Hathaway Scholarship. In fact, I brought a very similar amendment to this about 6 years ago, and I was promptly informed that it was unconstitutional. And so the problem is that we're not constitutional legal scholars in here. I think we have to rely on the folks that are, or that's what they provide. And I would respectfully suggest that we go to our LSO lawyers and figure out the answer to this, and versus us arguing back and forth on an issue that we need to get to the bottom of.
Thank you, Representative Nicholas. Representative Orr, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I guess I have a question and a comment. I know last night was kind of a long night, but I thought we were told that there was a solution to the amendment that we passed. And all I can see is this proposed amendment today just deletes the amendment that we passed yesterday. I don't see anything that fixes what they supposedly said they had a fix for. And I guess since I don't see that, I would urge the body to reject this and wait till we can see what their fix is to this. Otherwise, no on the amendment, yes on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Worf. Any others for their first time? Representative Strzok for first time.
And thank you, Speaker. My only thought would, if we could leave this, my amendment on there, and we can work towards something. Don't take the amendment off. Go ahead and keep it, and we work, and we look at it. And I was told down there, this is something we can really look into. That's what they had told me. So I don't think we right away just say, if someone can show exactly and come up to us and say it's something we have to change constitutionally, I think we do. But if not, let's leave it and let's work on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Strzok. Any others for their first time? None for their first time? Second time? None for their second time? Chair would entertain the question. Question being called. Members? Nope, second time? Okay. Representative Harshman, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was wanting to make sure members had a second chance, and so I'll just close this up. 14 hours ago, I was over at that mic, and I said, we'll try to work on this. So I got a hold of the department. They said, no, we can't do that. Went back on our website, talked to our attorneys here, and then I kind of went back through all this old Hathaway discussions, and that's why we set it up this way 20 years ago, because it's kind of like, you know, you're either constitutional or you're not. It's like my wife was pregnant. She's not half pregnant. I mean, you're either pregnant or you're not. You're either constitutional or you're not. And there's at least 4 articles in our Constitution are so clear, and we got 40 years of case law. And gosh, and I get where this amendment came from. I don't know if you've ever been to that facility. I've toured it, I've been there multiple times. As I told you, the state nearly bought that thing a few years back when I served as Speaker of this House. Because they've regrouped and it's doing really well. So it's got a long history here. But this will not work for Wyoming citizens who are right in the middle of this right now. And so I don't think there's an amendment I can bring on second or third reading that's going to make this constitutional. I told the bringer last night, we'll work on this. Maybe we can make a what if thing, but I don't think there's anything I can do in this bill to do it, Mr. Speaker. So I think if we want a nice, clean bill that's going to help our tradesmen and women, this is the bill. So thank you, and on and for the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 36. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. All right. Having House Bill 36 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 42.
House Bill 42, sponsored by Representative Lawley, regulation of surgical abortions.
We have amendments to House Bill 42. First amendment is being brought by Representative Larson. Lloyd. Representative Larson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move second reading amendment to House Bill 42 and explain what the reason behind it. So we take surgical abortion procedures and we require them to be done in a ambulatory surgical center. We have statutes that govern ambulatory surgical center. I remember when they were put in place. And so as I read the bill, and went back and looked at statutes require that the physician or the surgeon at an ambulatory surgical center is required to have admitting privileges in the hospital. And this bill requires that they have to have admitting privileges within a hospital within 10 miles. I think we need to just be consistent on how we're working with ambulatory surgical center statutes. And so I changed the language in there and took out the 10 mile, and I says that it has to be, have admitting privileges in, at the hospital closest to the place where the surgery is being performed. And just cleaning that up, and hope that you can support that amendment.
Thank you, Representative Larson. Representative Lawley, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reason we chose a 10-mile radius is, again, we were trying to set some parameters on it. But again, I say vote your conscience on this amendment, because quite frankly, closest to could be a closer hospital than 10 miles. So the point of the requirement is this: continuity of care. And when we heard this bill a year ago, we had specific testimony that there have been situations where women have been left in emergency rooms or urgent care facilities without continuity of care after an abortion. So that's why that's why it's in here. So as long as we continue to have that continuity of care, that's what we need. But so I say vote with your conscience.
Thank you, Representative Lawley. Any others for their first time? Seeing none, second time. Oh, Representative Clauston. First time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess my question here would be, if you're in an area, say closest, you can't get permission to the one that's a mile away, but you have permission at a hospital that's 10 miles away, we still want that care to be available. So by saying closest hospital, I think the issue with that is you may not be able to have permission at the closest hospital, but there might be another one available. So that would be my concern on this. I do think that we have other places in statute talking about privileges are within 30 miles. So something for this body to consider, and I'll look forward to an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Clauston. Any others for their first time? No others? Representative Larson. Lloyd.
I think the good representative brings up a good point, one that I had thought of, because I just thought that we could do away with the mileage and just say have admitting privileges to a hospital, then they could refer that person in an emergency to the hospital where that belongs. But trying to keep with the intent to have it to the closest one there is what we really point out in this bill. We don't define it in the ambulatory surgical center documents what hospital and the distance, but trying to keep with that. So he brings a fair point, and if we just want to have it as a hospital, maybe we do that on a third reading amendment. I think that's a valid point, but designate it within 10 miles, because there just may not be a hospital within 10 miles, and so that may be the objective. Then nobody can do those type of procedures within 10 miles or greater than 10 miles. I don't know that I fully understood the intent of the 10 miles is what was causing me problems, so.
Thank you, Representative Larson. Representative Lawley.
Well, I think, again, I expressed the intent. It's not that hard. Continuity of care and emergent care. And so that's why the 10 miles, that we had no testimony that was overly restrictive. I don't really understand fully why this is the problem. And these aren't becoming ambulatory care centers specifically. What we're doing is adding them to the definition, but that doesn't necessarily say they do other procedures, but just so you know, but that's why there could be a distinction here, but thank you.
Question being called. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 42. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. We have another amendment, number 2 to House Bill 42. Representative Yin, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 42 and ask for your favorable consideration, members. So I heard that this bill, the intent is to keep women safe, making sure that they are within reach of a surgical facility. There are 2 other procedures that take incisions in the uterine lining. These are 2 of them. If the patient is pregnant, this is something that could theoretically induce an abortion. I want to make sure that if we are covering keeping women safe in situations where the uterine lining is damaged, that again, they are all within a facility that they could have immediate, imminent care. So that's all it is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Yin. Representative Lawley. First.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Really what he's trying to do is expand the definition of abortion beyond the common understanding or medical definition of an abortion. So I urge you to resist this amendment. It really does not come under what we're trying to regulate here. And I would just say no on the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Lawley. Any others for their first time? First time. Seeing none. Representative Yin for your second time.
Mr. Speaker, again, I think it does go with the intent of the bill, which is to keep women safe when there's a possibility that they could be pregnant and there's a procedure being done inside of them that involves their uterine lining. These are 2 procedures that could induce an abortion. And so I think it does make sense that it falls under the definition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. No one else for their second time? That's it. I would entertain the question. Question being called. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 42. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. Members, House Bill 42 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 43.
House Bill 43, sponsored by Representative Lawley. Age verification for websites with harmful material.
We have amendments. Second reading amendment number 1, Representative Harshman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 43. And members, appreciate your thoughtful debate on this. The bill, I think House Bill 43 is a good bill, and I'm just trying to make it better. I think as I listened to debate last night, in today's world, kids aren't going to websites. I mean, this is all on their phone, and it's coming through social media. And other states have protected parental rights by parental permission required for minors to join social media sites, so they have the whole world on their phone. And parents ought to know about that. So much like we do in other areas, it's a verification of an age deal. It's not that hard. We do it in the gaming industry and others on our phone. And really this bill, as you know, and I brought it last year, and as I look at our platform and all those things about parental protection in our most precious resources, our kids. And that's why I support this House Bill 43, but I want to make it better and actually give parents a tool. And I've heard parents, we heard members say, gosh, I'm friends with my kid. We follow each other. And I'll just tell you my experience, being a teacher and a coach for the last 39 years, raising 4 kids who have gone through different levels of this when it was just beginning to where it is now. It's not the account that you're friends with. It's the anonymous accounts. That's all this stuff is done now anonymously. And when we were kids, and if you were having trouble at school, or you could go home and get away from it. Now that thing is just lights up in your face. Can't get rid of it. And right now, parents have no idea, have no protection. And so I just think I want to, and really it's constituent in Washtenaw County, and they're all over the state. I've heard from all over the state, and his son was a senior in high school, ended his life. They finally dig into his social media and find out what was going on there. And we can protect kids and protect parents and support our parents on this deal. So that's why I'm bringing this. And Mr. Speaker, this bill is in your desk. I get that, but folks, we're coming down the back stretch of the track, and there are only a few horses left running, and not many of them are going to cross that line to go to the other end of the house, you know. And so that's why I'm doing this, because it's so important. We got to get this done, and it doesn't damage this bill. It actually strengthens it, and I think promotes the purpose, and it actually makes this bill more effective, Mr. Speaker. So welcome the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Harshman. Representative Angelos, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against the amendment, although I don't disagree with number one in our hearts and on our license plate. Social media is an issue. I completely agree. But that is distracting us from what we are trying to do on this bill specifically that targets websites and not apps. We can talk about that at another time. One thing with social media is it has been held up in the courts because it is a First Amendment right. Obscenity, as you heard from our good lawyer, is not. It is not a First Amendment right for children, for minors. So that's something to think about. We do not want to kill this bill. This almost changes the intent. Vote no on the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Angelos. Representative Washit, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't disagree with the thing that the bringer of the amendment said, and I think I'm even a co-sponsor on his bill. I would hope that we might get to that. But when we heard testimony in committee from these technical expert in this area, we only talked about these websites, and I didn't get any testimony about social media applications and how the technology might interface with that. So I'm just a little nervous about trying to shoehorn this bill in as an amendment to the other bill without having the opportunity to hear from those technical experts on the technology side of this equation.
Thank you, Representative Washit. Representative Lawley, for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against this amendment, it harms the bill in more ways than you could know. While I am very sympathetic and agree with the comments about the dangers of social media, this is not the place for this amendment. And let me give you some reasons why. First of all, let me tell you that during this time I was writing this bill, I was also writing an age verification specifically for social media. I chose not to bring it this session. You might see it next session, but partly not to confuse the two issues. And so one of the ways, for example, it's different is that with social media, there is the ability to rely on the consumer protection provisions by the Attorney General. Remember our discussion about this bill only yesterday. It may seem longer, but just yesterday, that we aren't doing that here specifically to comply with the current law concerning some potential First Amendment concerns. So to put this in here is not going to help this bill. It actually could complicate it in many different ways, but I just say resist this amendment. I will be bringing that age verification technology to use in social media next session, but it's distinctly different bills. I've got, like I said, I can put them side by side and they are very different for very specific legal reasons. So Please resist this amendment. This situation that the bringer of this amendment is talking about, he's well-intended. It is someone from my district, someone I know well. I talked about him and what happened to his family last session when we tried to do something on social media. And it's a tragic story, and it occurs and reoccurs across our country and certainly across the state of Wyoming. So it is an important issue, but that does not mean it belongs in this bill. It doesn't, and it will harm the bill. So again, on and against the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Larson Lloyd for his first time.
Thank you to the good speaker who is the author of the bill. You indicated that this amendment will hurt the bill in more ways than we could know. And again, talked about that it will harm the bill in many, many ways, but you haven't shared any of those ways. Would you do that, please?
Any others for their first time? Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the amendment, you know, I'm young enough to have spent time on social media as a child and been contacted through social media by people that were predators. So I think if we want to protect children, which I think that's what everybody here wants to do, this is a place where people get contacted directly. Websites don't have direct contact like social media does. So that's where I think folks are trying to pull people from off the virtual world into the real world. So I would just urge consideration of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Provenza. Representative Yin for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I think I'm going to say I'm on and against the amendment. I do think that, frankly, the social media aspect is probably further reaching and damaging to children right now because, you know, we all grew up with pornography. It has existed as long as people have made images. Certainly, there's a more proliferation now, but social media is something that many of us in this chamber never grew up with. We don't really understand the damage that it has on children's brains now. So while I may be against the amendment, I do think that it's an issue that's worth hearing. And if the representative believes that it needs to actually get a full hearing, I would urge the representative to make a motion to send it to a committee, because I think it is a hearing that we need to hear about because it's affecting our children now.
Thank you, Representative Yin. Any others for their first time? Seeing none, any others for their second time? Speaking to the amendment, second time, Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I did mention one of the major harms that this brings is the fact that we've constructed this bill specifically for how it affects pornography industry and its effect on our children, to protect children from pornography. And so by putting this in here, you invite other types of scrutiny, and you're dealing with apples and oranges, not so much with the effect on children, but how those things are regulated. So again, I ask you to resist this amendment. It really, I'm just not calling for a rules committee, but I will tell you, I don't believe that the amendment is even germane to the bill, but it just doesn't fit here. It's not, that doesn't make it a problem. It doesn't mean that social media shouldn't be addressed. Or even that age verification might be one effective tool to use with social media, but it doesn't belong in this bill that's been constructed to work around the current law concerning obscenity and pornography. And the bill does not help us get there and becomes a distraction. And quite frankly, I would say, now this is not the intent of the bringer of the amendment, but I will tell you that in the end, it will hurt the bill and its effectiveness. And if that's what people want to do, then vote for the amendment. Otherwise, there's been other suggestions made that I think are pretty good about what to do about a bill that didn't get out. But I know it's popular among some folks here to do this and keep putting amendments of their bills back in other bills. And I've seen it for maybe almost 3 years now. And quite frankly, sometimes it works, but mostly it doesn't. It doesn't. So again, on and against the amendment, I would ask you to vote no.
Thank you, Representative Lawley. Second time, back to the bringer of the amendment. Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. and Thanks for the debate and this discussion. I think, though, we want to, and I appreciate the first representative from Campbell County agrees with this amendment, but wants us to vote against it. And the point was made that speech is a fundamental right, and pornography obviously isn't. And I agree totally, obviously. But I think let's talk about the freedom of speech. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater, right? So we always have this balance, because your right's in where my nose begins. And there's always this balance and this struggle, and it's a beautiful thing in our society. So as far as regulating free speech with parental permission on social media sites, other states are way ahead of us. They're already doing it, protecting their kids and empowering their parents. Parents have no idea. As far as technical experts, good representative from Natrona County, these things go hand in hand. No kids go to websites anymore. That's all old people do that. And they access that, boom, right off their phone through social media. So how is that going to work when you're on social media and it carries you to, so they're going to have to be intertwined anyway on this whole age verification. So I think it actually strengthens the whole process. And, and then I think the representative, and I don't take anything from this, Mr. Speaker, but says, I've seen some people in my 3 years try to amend bills. And I guess I've seen some people for the last 23 years try to do that. And that's how we make bills better. That's how the Hathaway Scholarship was born on the last day in the second house, Mr. Speaker, with an amendment on a substitute bill. That's what we do, try to make these things better. So when we have 62 idea machines sitting in here, we want to make it better. I haven't seen many bills go through unamended that were really worth the darn. And so, Mr. Speaker, I'd urge an aye vote to protect our most valuable resource, our kids, and then to follow what we're doing here to empower our parents. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask Rule 12-4 for the ayes and noes on this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We will need a second for the 12-4. Second, Representative Provenza. This will be a roll call vote. You will be asked to vote on Second Amendment, or second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 43. Whenever you're ready, Chief Clerk, please proceed.
Allemand? No. Andrew? No. Angelos? No. Banks? No. Bear? No. Brady? No. Bratton? No. Brown Gary? No. Brown Landon? Aye. Byron? No. Campbell Elisa? Aye. Campbell Kevin? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? No. Clouston? No. Connolly? Davis? No. Eklund? Eklund? No. Erickson? No. Filer? No. Geringer? No. Guggenmoss? No. Haroldson? No. Harshman? Aye. Heiner? No. Heft? No. Jarvis? Aye. Johnson? No. Kelly? No. Knapp? No. Larson Lloyd? Larson JT? No. Lawley? No. Lean? No. Locke? No. Lucas? No. McCann? No. Nicholas? No. Nicholas? Ottman? No. Pendergraft? No. Posey? No. Provenza? Aye. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams? Schmid? Sherwood? Singh? Smith? Storr? Strock? Stivar? Tarver? Thayer? Washut? Wasserberger? Webb? Weber? Wharf? Williams? Winter? Wiley? Yin? Speaker Nyman? Are there any changes? Campbell, Kevin, excused 2. Brown, Landon, aye to no. Strock? Strock, no to no. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 9 aye, 52 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt Second Amendment number 1 to House Bill 43. House Bill 43 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 61.
House Bill 61, sponsored by Representative Banks, State Land Lease Preferences and Amendments.
House Bill 61 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 62.
House Bill 62, sponsored by Representative Heiner, Prostitution Amendments.
House Bill 62 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 63.
House Bill 63, sponsored by Representative Rodriguez Williams, Working Animal Protection Act.
We have amendments. First, let's see here, second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 63. Representative Pendergraft, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 63. I ask for your favorable consideration. Folks, yesterday in the conversation, we realized that part of the purpose of this bill is to help with rodeo and fairs and events of same. And yet, the way the bill was written, it included cattle, sheep, and goats. And so this is an amendment offered to attempt to remedy that. Is it quite perfect? I'm not quite sure that it is, but this moves us in the right direction, so I would invite your consideration. Basically, in the first half of the bill, page 3, line 2, after exhibition, we insert a clause that makes an exception for rodeo, for fair, for jackpot, agricultural expedition or exhibition, or other similar event, and then a similar, actually an identical phrase put in page 4, line 12. And with that, I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative Pendergraft. Any discussion? Question being called. Members, you are being asked to make a decision on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 63. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. Next amendment for our consideration on House Bill 63, Representative Sherwood, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and body, and I appreciate the work that we are doing to hone in. The true purpose of this bill is to protect our rodeos and our Western heritage. So in that regard, when this was brought to us in 2023, this is the same amendment I ran at that time that passed and was included in the bill that ultimately didn't make it across the finish line. So what my amendment does is allows a municipal ordinance protecting or relating to puppy mills or animal hoarders to be put in place by a city or a county, and that this law would not supersede the ability for our local governments to regulate those things that I'm going to go on a limb and say most of us agree are not ideal parts of our animal treatment policies. Move the amendment? I am moving the amendment right now. Thank you very much. I would like to move the amendment, second reading amendment, to Bill House 63. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Representative Sherwood. Any discussion? Okay. Representative Rodriguez-Williams, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and opposed to the amendment. So the bill does include the word husbandry as a definition. However, it would not protect puppy mills. Where conditions would rise to the level of animal cruelty. It would generally apply to dog breeders. I've double checked with this with our LSO office. I'm comfortable with the way the draft's written. I'm not a fan of puppy mills. And right now, they're not explicitly illegal. They would only be illegal if the mill met the definition of animal cruelty, which is currently under a different statute, which is 631002. And I'll leave it at that, on and opposed.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Anyone else for their first time? Are you sure, Representative Nicholas? Okay. Any others for their first time? Second time? Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because I'm not 100% comfortable with the way the bill is worded and feel like this amendment makes it clear, again, this is a municipal ordinance or policy relating to puppy mills or animal hoarders. I think that this local control is important and this clarity in the language is important to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sherwood. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 63. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt second reading amendment number 2. Division being called. All those in favor of second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 63, please stand.
Such enthusiasm.
Okay, you may be seated. All those opposed, more than 9. Thank you very much. Okay, next amendment for our consideration. Second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 63. Representative Sherwood, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move second amendment reading number 3 to House Bill 63 and ask for your favorable consideration. So yeah, that last vote didn't go the way that I had envisioned. I think the optics on that are a little odd, but moving on. So this is another policy consideration for the body. Again, something that I didn't feel that was clear in the bill is currently our cities and counties can license circuses and carnivals. And mostly this is for just safety issues, like are these events being put on in a way that is safe for the public? So falls within those public health purview. So the amendment would add language allowing our city and our county commissioners to continue to issue licenses. And yeah, so circuses and carnivals, let's see if those rate higher or lower than our puppy mills. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Anyone for their first time? Representative Rodriguez-Williams for her first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and opposed to the amendment. I think we're kind of getting in the weeds here. I'd like to keep the bill intact and just draw your attention to page 2. Section B, this section supersedes any municipal code ordinance or policy that conflicts with this section, but shall not supersede any municipal ordinance or policy relating to public health or public safety. So my bet is that these municipalities or subdivisions of the state have a permitting process in place that pertain to public health and public safety. And so that's already covered in the bill.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Representative Thayer for your first time.
On and for this amendment. As a municipality, clarity is key. We are asking these people to go out and uphold these laws that we are enacting, and it's not bad to have that clarity. You know, when you're pulled into the legal side of it, just having the law, clarity of the law on our side. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Thayer. Anyone else for their first time? Representative Connolly, first time.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, Representative Connolly. It's good to see you.
Speaking on the amendment with municipalities having some clarity, I think the counties also need to have some clarity. I don't know if I'm out of line here or not, but our county commissioners are concerned about having the ability, along with the city councils, to pass resolutions and be able to handle that business without being told from a state statute. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Connolly. Any others for their first time? Any others? No? Second time? Seeing none, back to the bringer. Bringer says no. I would entertain the call for the question. Question being called. Members, you're being asked to make a decision on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 63. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has not been adopted. Moving on to second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 63. Representative Chairman Washut, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully withdraw second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 63.
Chosen to remove the amendment. It's hearing no objection. Amendment has been removed. Okay, let me see what we got. Okay. House Bill 63, having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 64.
House Bill 64, sponsored by Representative Nyman. Chemical abortions, ultrasound requirement.
Okay. Discussion on the bill. There are amendments. Mr. Speaker Nyman.
Thank you, Majority Floor Leader, Mr. Chairman. Body, I bring you Second Amendment number 1 and move to House Bill number 64 and would ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, what this is a little bit of cleanup. As you can see on page 4, line 4, I went back in there and after unborn baby and inserted view the fetal heart motion. Remove the hearing. And the reason I brought this to you and the other small amendment I'm bringing to clarify, after contacting some RNs, they said that this would be a cleaner, a better way of describing how and what they're looking for, because we're looking not for weight or to be able to hear the audible heart, but you can see the heart moving and to be able to detect motion. And so they said that that would be a cleaner way of doing it, just some small adjustments to the bill. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Any discussion? Representative Yin.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I think it is cleaner. I think frankly, because heartbeat isn't a thing that they can actually look for at 10 weeks. So that's why they have to look for heart motion, so.
Thank you, Minority Floor Leader Yin. Any other discussions for the first time? First time, any others for the first time? Second time, any discussion for the second time? Mr. Speaker, question being called. We're voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 64. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by saying nay. That amendment has been adopted. Continuing on, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Body, I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 64 and would also ask for your favorable consideration. And we did have part of this discussion yesterday, and I chatted with you a little bit about bringing these amendments. Weight is not a determiner as so much as the gestational time in the child. And so what we're looking to do here on page 4, line 23, is delete and weight and insert length and head diameter. If you'll recall yesterday, we chatted a little bit about that. That is what they are looking for to be able to determine the optimum age of the child and make sure that it is at that 10-week level or below. So appreciate your favorable consideration.
Further discussion on second reading amendment number 2. Further discussion. Question being called. All those in favor, do you want a second shot at it? All those in favor of second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 64 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by saying nay. That amendment has been adopted. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, we have one more, yeah. One more amendment, but it's not Mr. Speaker's. Representative Campbell, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move second reading Amendment 3 to House Bill 64. And if I may, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Majority Floor, briefly provide some why before getting into this amendment.
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. So yesterday afternoon, there were several things mentioned on the floor that I would like to quote. This bill is about medical freedom and empowering patients. It also gives the patients greater personal control over what is being introduced into their own body. This legislation prioritizes patient autonomy. None of these phrases spoken on the floor last night were spoken about House Bill 64. And the hypocrisy is quite astounding. So on behalf of the thousands of Wyoming residents, not only from my House district, but from across the state, who have reached out in opposition to this bill, I present the amendment. So looking at Third Amendment on second read, truly to make this bill about health and well-being and honoring medical freedom and empowering our patients, giving them that patient autonomy and control over what is being introduced into their own body. You will see on page 1, above line 1, we are going to delete the words ultrasound requirement. Page 1, line 1, we will also delete ultrasounds and insert verification of gestational age. Page 1, line 3, providing for definitions, we're going to delete providing. Page 1, lines 4, 5, 9, we're going to delete entirely. Page 3, lines 20 through
Point of order.
23. Excuse me?
What is your point?
Point of order. I do not believe that I heard the bill moved.
It was moved, Representative.
I
Please continue.
apologize.
Please continue.
Thank you. Page 3, lines 20 through 23, delete entirely. Page 4, delete entirely. Page 5, lines 2. Page 5, line 5, we will delete entirely and insert gestational age through means agreed upon by the patient and physician or pharmacist, and in accordance with guidelines established by the American Medical Association or the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Now on page 5, deleting 7 through 22. So the point really is, if this is truly a bill about protecting women's health and protecting and giving them, that freedom and not mandating those decisions, and inserting the government as the medical experts, then looking to the American Medical Association or the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists is the appropriate source. So there, I will concede, yes, this was a great debate last night. The legislature does have the right to regulate healthcare in evidence-based, non-gender specific, non-prejudicial fashion for the preservation of the public safety and welfare. So this would include things like licensing and permitting in facilities, right, to ensure public safety and welfare. Show me the evidence that mandating transvaginal ultrasounds falls within the realm of public safety and welfare. And to even quote the bringer of this bill from last night, yeah, you got me. I want the mother to have the time to think about this. Voting yes to this bill sets the precedent for our state government to enact legislation whenever we want to shame and punish an individual for making a decision that does not align with our personal beliefs, values, or morality. So by voting yes on this amendment, we are saying that we oppose the bill as written. Because what this bill does is says that individuals If they happen to choose a course of action that we morally disagree with, then as a state government, we can mandate unnecessary invasive medical procedures that violate their individual rights, just to shame and to punish them. It's not our job to judge these decisions. It is our job to protect their right to make decisions regarding their health care with their healthcare providers. So I strongly encourage a yes vote on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Campbell. Further discussion on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 64. Representative Lean.
Thank you,
For the first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and opposed to this amendment, for you see, when you go in for your very first appointment when you're pregnant, they use a transvaginal ultrasound to make sure that they have a clear description of your gestational age. So we're not going to regulate anything outside of the norm of a first doctor's appointment. Furthermore, without that ultrasound, you stand potential harm to the individual and to the fetus. So if you say a young woman may be 12 weeks along and they go to a pharmacist and lie and say they're 10 weeks, where does that leave her? What happens to that fetus? What happens to the baby? Does it make it out unharmed? Does it abort it? My question is, what happens without that ultrasound to verify the gestational age that the medication is going to properly work? Just as you go to a pharmacist and your weight, height, and obesity is all taken into account when they give you an antibiotic prescription or a chemo treatment, we need to make sure that this prescription is also going to work the way that it is intended. On and opposed to the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Lean. Further discussion? Speaker Nyman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and speaking to the amendment, and I appreciate the bringer of the amendment. This is the discussion that we need to have. Going back to the discussion yesterday, yep, you got me. I do. I absolutely believe that life is precious, and we should do everything that we possibly can to protect it. In fact, that's exactly what our Constitution says. You know, our founders looked at it and said, you know, we want you to have life, we want you to have liberty, and we want you to be able to pursue happiness. And I believe our founders got it right. I believe governments were instituted to do just that. And in this United States, this nation that we live in, that is the right to life. Because freedom does you precious little good without life first to enjoy it. So that's my position on this, is that I definitely want to try everything that I possibly can to provide the opportunity for life to exist and have that chance. As far as the rest of it and trying to do anything that is going to be undermining of a woman's health, the reality of it is that these drugs harm women. That's a fact. I can show you all kinds of information, and if you'd like, we can go over that information. And with the ever-increasing number of abortions that are being conducted through chemical means, we are ever increasing the problematic situation where women are going to be doing this many times alone without any doctor's advice, through mail and otherwise. We want to be able to protect them and their ability that if they so see fit to decide on this method, then for her sake and for the sake of that baby, that their life would not be harmed. And that is through finding out the proper gestational age of that baby so that the medication will work effectively. And so I see it as I said yesterday, and I will stand on this, I see this as a bill of compassion, making sure that ladies have the information that they need to make the decision. And yes, if they need to see this and hear this, or see it really, then it gives them the opportunity to make that final decision. It's not stopping them. It's simply giving both lives a chance to make a better informed decision. One, to make that better informed decision, and the other, to have a potential chance at a life. So, on and against the amendment.
Thank you, Speaker Nyman. Representative Lucas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
For the first time.
First for a second.
Thank you. First for a second. Any further discussion on second reading amendment number 3? For the first time, any further discussion? Going once, going twice. Second. Anyone for a second? Seeing none, Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Majority Floor, Chairman. So some personal, I guess, information. When I was probably 40, was diagnosed with, they said, okay, the 7 types of arthritis, you have all 7, congratulations, you're an overachiever. So we need to get on top of this, because 10 years from now, you really won't be able to get out of bed. I've got 2 young kiddos at the time, not okay. So actually, I was 36 at the time. So the first drug that is prescribed to me by my doctor that I've been working with is methotrexate. Methotrexate is a cancer drug and really just goes in and kills everything. So at 36, my doctor says, okay, so here's the drug, here's what happens. If there is any way you are pregnant right now or whatever, it will instantaneously abort, and here are all the things. If you want to get pregnant, if you want, talk to me through all of the things. I said, okay, there's no way. So we went, and I was actually started on methotrexate. In that moment, when my doctor says, here are all of the potential side effects, here are the things that we need to be aware of, here are the considerations we need to take into effect. Had the government pick a representative, knocked on the door, stepped in and said, whoa, time out, before you make this decision for yourself and your children, we're gonna need to stick this wand in your vagina. Excuse me, what? Why are you here? It is not. It is not. And while I understand the value of and the morality behind, when it comes to making those decisions, that is not the authority or the right of the state government. That is not our place. It is our job to respect the individual, to respect the healthcare profession, to respect all of the agencies that govern and regulate healthcare. Respect their authority, their decision-making, because that is not where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Campbell. Speaker Nyman, for your second time.
Yeah, and just follow up, and I appreciate, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think your point has just been made. In the good representative's testimony, she had that discussion with her doctor. She had that opportunity to
Chairman,
find
point
those
of
things
order.
out, so.
Point of order?
So this is definitely out of order, and we've had a lot of leeway from many members of letting people go after the bringer, but our procedure has always been the bringer gets the last word of the amendment.
Very good.
Point.
No problem.
Point taken.
Nope.
Members, you are voting on second amendment reading second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 64. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. No. That second reading amendment number 3 has failed adoption. Members, House Bill 64 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered.
Members, next bill for our consideration will be House Bill 103.
House Bill 103, sponsored by Representative Sherwood, columbarium regulation.
House Bill 103, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 131.
House Bill 131, sponsored by Representative Knapp, ballot drop boxes prohibition.
We have amendments. House Bill 131. Amendment number 1 to House Bill 131, second reading amendment. It's a fairly substantial amendment. I got to pull it out. 2-pager. Representative Yin.
Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 131 and ask for your favorable consideration. So members, we have before you a bill that brought up several concerns. So the two biggest ones I heard were chain of custody, so making sure that there's a solid chain of custody for where the ballot is from the voter to the clerk, so it gets counted correctly. And the second major one was that there was possible inconsistencies among ballot drop boxes around the counties. So I have a bill amendment to solve both of those problems.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Representative, what is your point?
I would challenge that this amendment is not germane and would call for the Rules Committee.
Rules Committee, thank you, Representative. Please assemble in front of the dais. Thank you, Rules Committee. The chair is going to rule that it is germane. Representative Yin, please continue.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So as I was saying, I bring before you an amendment that solves both of the issues, the issue of chain of custody concerns and the issue of consistency among the various people who run our elections. So I was thinking, okay, so we have this chain of custody issue. We're worried about what happens when it's in a box somewhere else. And so I looked for what kind of rules are in place in other jurisdictions where they do allow this. How do they make it secure? I found some rules that I agreed with, but I felt that it wasn't good enough, so I actually added another rule to it. So one, you'll see that the county clerk will have to, not only if they create one, have to let the Secretary of State know, so at least there'll be, the chief election officer will know the location of all of those boxes around the state. Two, it has to be securely fastened to the ground on a concrete slab. So basically, as hardened as a mailbox is on a concrete slab. Three, the lock can only be opened by a clerk or a person designated by the clerk. So that handles that chain of custody issue between that box and the clerk's office. You have that person designated by the clerk or the clerk themselves. Three, I'm going a little bit out of order, but it actually has to be collected and returned at least once per business day, so we don't allow too many ballots to accumulate in there where someone could pull them away at some other point or light it on fire or whatever. That risk is lessened by making sure that they pull from that ballot box every day. Four, comply with the Federal Disabilities Acts. We don't want to disenfranchise anyone from accessing those. But the big one is the 24/7 camera surveillance requirement, and that those recordings have to be in place for the entirety that we keep the ballots. So it has the same security that we have for the ballots that we have themselves, right? So at some point, we do remove the ballots after they've been counted and they've been certified, et cetera. But just in case there ever needs to be any investigation into those drop boxes, we'll at least have the video footage. And so those risks of like people tying a chain to it and pulling it away, the camera surveillance actually fixes that because you can see the license plate of those cars when they tie it to the, even a mailbox, right? Which has less security than these drop boxes that we're now providing requirements for in this amendment. And so with that, I think drop boxes are a really good tool to make sure that our most rural constituents can vote. I think that's the important thing here, right? We want to be able to solve a security issue, an election integrity issue, but we also don't want to disenfranchise anyone. The thing that the drop boxes help most are the people in the most hinterlands of Wyoming. We have a lot of them. It is a very empty state, but there are people who live in the middle of nowhere. We want to make sure that they can vote. This continues that ability while still keeping our elections secure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Yin. Any others for their first time? Representative Connolly, good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm in favor of this amendment after talking to my clerk. And there was a concern about, I think it was brought up yesterday, about what if somebody drops something in the box and it burns up the ballots or something happens to the ballots. And she assured me that there's like a scan piece there where they can go back and they can track whose ballots those were through the process. So that she didn't think that was a really big problem for them. And also, they were also concerned about people being able to get their ballots without hindering them by having to hand deliver them. So I'm in favor of this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Connolly. Representative Davis, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Or Mr. Speaker. Did I say chairman? I'm on and for this, back when we authorized the drop boxes out there, they were under the same scrutiny that is outlined in this, that they have to do this, this, and this. Well, our citizens of our county have grown used to that drop box being there. So when you take a service back from them, they get a little grumpy, So I think this is a good thing that we should be able to continue forth with.
Thank you, Representative Davis. Representative Haraldson, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and against the amendment, a couple issues that I see. If we had no other mechanism, in some of these situations, we heard rural. I represent an incredibly rural area. If there was no other mechanism for these individuals to be able to vote, then this would be a different conversation, but there are mechanisms. They can mail a ballot. And I think we need to go back to the concept as well that to vote is something that when it really boils down to it is a duty. It is. It's a right that's been paid for by amazing men and women that have fought and died for us. But at the same time, we also need to view it as it's our duty to do that. And so we have not made it impossible for someone who cannot be in person or there to vote day of. And maybe even if they couldn't make it in during business hours, there are mechanisms. But what we have seen across the country is that this mechanism that is being presented in this amendment has not proven to be the best mechanism there is, or even the safest, nor the most viable. And so I think that the concept we're here to discuss today is the elimination of a soft spot in our election integrity, and I believe this would put that soft spot directly back in.
Thank you, Representative Harrelson. Any others for the first time? Representative Knapp, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The bringer of the amendment talked to you about a couple of things. They talked to you about uniformity and chain of custody. And remember where drop boxes originated from. It was from COVID. And so you had a handful of clerks that basically decided that they were going to allow people to drop off their vote. Just a handful of clerks. It wasn't by any statute that this was done. This was just their interpretation of how a person would make it easier to vote during COVID. So uniformity is important. And when at the time that they did that with those handful of clerks, there was a directive from the secretary that basically just said, hey, if you're doing this, try to make sure it's secure. We use the postal system because it is secure. Not only is it secure and designated as secure, there's also penalty to that. The penalty is $250,000. It's a federal offense to tamper with that mail. So we didn't talk a lot about ballot harvesting, but that is one aspect of this that we're trying to prevent with uniformity and trying to prevent with chain of custody. That disenfranchises other votes. That disenfranchises your constituents' votes. So we try to have a system that is uniform, and we try to have a system that ensures the chain of custody. Vote no on the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Knapp. Representative Provenza, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to correct something that was just said, that drop boxes are a thing of COVID. That's not true. Drop boxes have been around a long time. They exist in part so that hardworking Wyoming rights can drop their ballot off at the poll if they see fit. People that live out in the county that get their ballot mailed to them can drop it off. They've been around for a long time. They're not a product of COVID. So I just wanted to clarify that. People have been using them for a long time. It just so happens that it became hot button rhetoric to attack drop boxes around the time that COVID came. Not that drop boxes are new. Thank you.
Representative Williams, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really appreciate the concern we just heard about for those of us who reside in the hinterlands. And as a lifelong resident of the backside of Beyond, I speak against this amendment. When drop boxes are banned, we will get along just fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Wiley, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Just to speak for this again, we heard our good colleague from the land of the camels say, this made it easier during COVID. Yes, it makes it easier to vote. My folks have also grown accustomed to this. Like I said, a lot of shift work, a lot of things like that. And in my opinion, this is a more secure way of casting a vote than, putting it in the mail and having 15 people touch it. And yes, there are penalties for that, but we have mail fraud all the time. We've talked about washing checks earlier on this floor. It happens all the time. This ballot box in front of my county courthouse is more secure than our mail service. 100%. okay with saying that at this podium. Please think about this. This is taking away local control from our counties. Let them choose. There's only been a handful. I believe, unless you correct me, we've had 0 cases of fraud or anything happen with these drop boxes. On for the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Just one quick announcement, ladies and gentlemen. You've got 11 minutes left to get your bill drafts in. This is final approval for them. So time is of the essence if you have not completed that task. Any others? First time, second time. Representative Connolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question. Here in Wyoming, after the most recent elections, can anybody tell me if there truly has been any kind of fraud or problems with the drop boxes in the counties? I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Connolly. Any other members for their second time? Second time? Representative Knapp, second time, then we'll go to Representative Davis.
Just in answer to that question, how would we know? Not all of those drop boxes are secure. Not all those drop boxes are just checked by a clerk or a designee of. Some of them are actually drop boxes that may have been there for a while because they put everything in there, from a treasurer's check to your child support payment to anything else. So again, it's not as if these are widespread, and it's not as if we haven't gone out of our way for shift workers and things to be able to bring their ballot in. For goodness sakes, they have 40 days in advance of a vote to be able to come in to vote and hand their ballot to a clerk or mail that ballot if they're absentee. So we're trying to just get rid of something that is almost an anomaly in our voting system amongst the counties. Because there are so few of them, and tighten this up and make sure that we're having uniformity and security in our voting.
Representative Davis, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There was a comment a little bit ago, but, in our particular county, my House district, there's 11 communities that have to try and get this all stuff done. I mean, from all corners of that county. So it's very, very convenient for them to be able to drop them ballots off as they're going forth there.
Representative Wiley, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And then just to the good chairman's comments, we wouldn't know about any fraud instances with these drop boxes, but what about the mail service that we're saying is okay? We don't know.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their second time? Second time, back to the bringer. Representative Yin.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So members, I heard a couple of things. We heard from a member that it is our duty to vote. I agree. I think it is our duty to vote. What I'm concerned with is whether we're making that duty harder to achieve. Why would we, if we believe it's the duty to vote, why would we tie one hand behind our back to allow our constituents to make it, to actually vote? That's confusing to me. I do agree it's our duty, but we have a way to make it safe without making it harder. What's the purpose of making it actually harder? Two, we heard the postal system is quote unquote secure, and that because it's secure because there is a penalty for interfering with the Postal Service. There's a penalty for interfering with the drop boxes as well. It's election interference. Election interference is up to 5 years in prison. It's a felony, and it's up to a $10,000 fine. So again, this is more secure than the Postal Service. So if you are trusting the Postal Service with your ballots, which frankly, you probably shouldn't because it's going to take forever to get down to the state south of us and then back to the clerk, and the clerks were saying they're receiving ballots still. So this is a way for our constituents to actually access their right. In a secure way that is more secure than the Postal Service. If you believe in the Postal Service, then this should be an easy yes. Oh, and the one thing about COVID, that is incorrect. Drop boxes have been in use for over 30 years, Never been an issue until COVID, over 30 years.
Question being called. Members, you are being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 131. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Amendment has not been adopted. Next amendment for our consideration, House Bill 131, second reading amendment number 2, Representative Storr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 131 and ask for your favorable consideration. Our clerks have requested this amendment, and I just want to try to explain what the idea is behind this. Our county, like many, actually does use 2 kinds of drop boxes, one for elections, but also one for business filings. They are not in the same place. One is kind of in front of the building and one is behind the building. But unfortunately, sometimes our voters get confused. And we have had ballots dropped off into the business filing box. Currently, there's no way for our clerks to inform the elector that that by putting it in the wrong box, they now have a spoiled ballot. Is no longer valid, will not be counted. So this amendment allows our clerks to let the voter know so that they may then, as according to 2213-107, let a judge know that they have a spoiled ballot by mistake or accident, and then they can request a new ballot. But there is a process already in statute that allows for the spoiled ballot, taking care of that. And this would just allow our clerks to let the elector know that that is what has happened to theirs. So, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Storr. Members for their first time. Representative Knapp, first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I see this as a favorable amendment, and I do thank the bringer in discussing this with the clerks and coming up with the solution for this. So I would vote yes.
Any others for their first time? Representative Yin, first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So there is a county that didn't use drop boxes for elections, but does have a drop box for business filings. It is county number 1. And so they flagged it as a concern that if people put ballots in there, they need to be able to let people know, otherwise they won't get to vote.
Any others? Other members for their first time? Question, well, back to the bringer of the amendment before we get out ahead of ourselves, which I tend to do sometimes. Representative Storr, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you. I appreciate the support. I just want to make it clear that we are trying to make our elections safer rather than denying access to the ballot. And this is a common sense addition to this bill that will help our voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Question, did I hear? I think a question being called. Thank you. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 131. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. On to amendment number 3 to second reading House Bill 131. Representative Geringer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 131 and ask for your favorable consideration. This amendment simply eliminates the requirement that ballots be sent through the USPS. I think in the discussion that occurred that added this in the standing committee, I don't think it was really fully considered what the impact could be. And I'll give you a case in point. So my son was able to spend his senior year and some time after studying abroad. He took the appropriate measures to be able to cast his ballot while out of the country. He's not a member of the military. And other than military installations, there really is no access to the United States Postal Service outside of the US. So therefore, he found and used a parcel delivery service to be able to send his ballot back to our local county clerk. And he's not the only one that would be affected, but also any other non-military person traveling, studying, or working abroad during an election. So I guess I'd say let's protect the ability of all of our Wyoming citizens to cast their votes and vote yes on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Geringer. Representative Williams, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The same concern was brought to me by our clerk, who receives lots of ballots from alternative carriers. So I'm on in support of this amendment.
Representative Yin, for your first time.
So, Mr. Speaker, thank you. On information for the body on this amendment. So the reason that this amendment came in committee at all was because the folks who administer our elections wanted clarification to make sure that no one would come and accuse them of breaking the law again by accepting ballots outside of USPS. So if we accept this amendment, I think that clarification still needs to be there on what types of quote-unquote mail they will accept, because otherwise, I don't want to see another situation that we had in our committee where there was an accusation that the clerks broke the law. So I'm going to vote against this amendment, actually, and try to work with the bringer of the amendment for a clarifying amendment that lays out all of the different types of services that are acceptable to be quote-unquote secure.
Thank you, Representative Yin. Any other members for their first time? Representative Knapp, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Beyond my own personal preference of what is acceptable, I do agree with the last speaker that if they could work on what other carriers would be allowed, I think that would be a good idea. I would note to everybody too that in 2024, they did allow students, was an example, to vote through the internet too when you're overseas. So that is one other option that they have for you. It's much less secure, I think, but that is another option. So I'm indifferent to the amendment, but would ask for further detail if possible.
Representative Chestick, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would urge an aye vote on this amendment. I understand the concern about other alternatives besides the U.S. Postal Service, and that can be addressed on third reading. But if for whatever reason that fails on third reading, we need to have this in place at second reading, so at least we have the Postal Service. So I'm in favor of this amendment and also interested to hear what further correction we might make on third reading.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Seeing none, second time, back to the bringer, Representative Geringer.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the good representative that just spoke. I think we need to at least get this language out of here. We can still work on an amendment as to what is acceptable, but we need to get this disenfranchisement of voters out of here.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 131. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment has been adopted. Okay, that is it. Second reading, House Bill 131 having been read 2 separate times. This question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Let's see, what do we got for time? I think we better, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess until 2 o'clock.
You have heard the motion of the majority floor leader. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The House will stand in recess until 2 p.m. Committee announcements. Oh, take that. I did not strike that piece of wood. That was a figment of your imagination. Please forgive me, Rick. Thank you very much. Hang in there. Committee announcements. Representative Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 2 will be meeting in 20 minutes
In room E301 and online, we will be discussing House Bill 97, property conveyances near critical infrastructure, House Bill 245, pen and paper ballots, House Bill 248, school foundation program, interim budget authority, and re-referrals as assigned.
Thank you, Chairman Baird. Chairman Locke, Revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your House Committee Number 3, Revenue, will be meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. in the Extension Room 5, and we will be reviewing 3 bills. House Bill 279, Property Tax Exemptions Order of Application, House Bill 282, Property Tax Acquisition Value, and House Bill 113, Insurance Payments Not Taxable, if we get to that. And then if we need to, we will continue upon adjournment to finish those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Locke. Chairman Knapp, Corporations.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Your number 7 corporations will meet upon noon recess in E005 to hear House Bill 178, House Bill 154, and House Bill 227.
Thank you, Chairman Knapp. Chairman Winter, Ag.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, will meet tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock to discuss, to finalize House Bill 132, House Bill 153, and we will start on House Bill 123, House Bill 186, and if possible, House Bill 205.
Thank you, Chairman Winter. Any other committee announcements? Seeing none, you have heard the motion of the majority floor leader. The House will stand in recess until 2 p.m.